She has 14 years of experience in teaching and corporate training. She has been a visiting faculty at IIM Calcutta, IIM Lucknow, and IIM Shillong and IIM Nagpur. Her research areas include business communication, written analysis and communication, ELT, post-colonial writings, eco-critical narratives. She has several publications to her credit in journals of international repute, such as Springer, Sage, Emerald. She has been teaching communication courses like business communication, managerial communication, academic and professional writing, communication for business leadership, communication for management teachers, spoken English, as well as spoken business communication. Yeah. So with all these credentials, let me invite Madam. Ma'am, this is your floor. Please take on the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Farin, and good morning, everybody. I just want, I'm unable to share my screen. So host has disabled participant screen sharing. So I want,
Enable
yes.
permission, ma'am.
Yes.
It has been enabled, ma'am.
Yes, now it's enabled. Yes, yes, good.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you, Professor Farin, and good morning, everybody. And welcome to this FDP, and especially on influencing and managing oneself. And I hope that this FDP will surely benefit you and you will find it knowledgeable. And of course, there will be some inputs which you can take away from every session. As mentioned by Professor Farin, I can see lots and lots of sessions on how to change your lookout, how to change your way of life through positive attitude, through interpersonal communication, through language, through semantics, and I think many other factors which are important in our day-to-day life, not only in our professional sphere, but even in our personal spheres, we need to develop and hone our communication skills. So communication is not only about speaking or having a conversation with somebody. So let me start with a quote. And as Robert Frost has said, that it's very important to take care. And even Peter Drucker mentioned that the main thing in communication is not what is said, but what not is said. Okay, so that means we need to focus on what is unsaid in communication. So how to focus on which is unsaid, because whatever is said or whatever we tell in our everyday lives, we focus and we understand through language. But beginning my session with non-verbal communication as suggested by Professor Farin, I would just like to ask you to be there with me for this 90-minute session. And of course, I think I'll be able to brief you some of the important aspects of non-verbal communication. When we all talk about, we've gathered here to talk something on influencing, being a communication teacher and not strictly limited to non-verbals, I would just like to tell you that how important it is to manage our all communication when we need to influence others, or even when we need to get influenced. Okay, so it's very important. In persuasion, we need influencing skills, different types of influencing skills, power dynamics. How are they important? Do they convey anything? How does non-verbal communication work in our organizational spheres, in your institutes? When you interact with people, what do you understand from their expressions? What do you understand from their gestures? What do you understand from their body language? What do you even understand from the silence, which is an important means of non-verbal communication? So it's very important. So even in persuasion, I have felt that when we talk about persuasion, it's very important to influence others. What is actually persuasion? When you try and alter, or when you try to alter the beliefs and values of somebody, and changing that is not an easy task. And that is why most of the speakers, they in their motivational speeches or in their action speeches, they talk about these different factors through non-verbals. Okay? So non-verbal skills play an important role not only in oral communication, but as a teacher of communication skills for a long time, I personally felt that non-verbals even play an important role in written communication. So in oral communication, it becomes easy, face-to-face communication, isn't it? But written communication is the most difficult form of communication. So when I talk about communication skills, we have 4 types of communication skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking, isn't it? Now, why anyone can tell me why written communication is the most difficult form of communication. I want hands to be raised so that I can talk to them, and that will become easier for me. So let me quickly set the stage for my communication, non-verbal communication, by putting a few questions. So why anybody feels that written communication is difficult and oral communication is easy, or why do you have preferences that way, or you feel even spoken is difficult? Why? Yes. Grammar, yes. Kamlakar says, Professor Kamlakar has said that grammar makes written communication difficult, but grammar is equally important in oral communication also. Yes. Yes, Professor Ruma. Yes, Professor Ruma, I can see your hand. So if you want to speak, you can speak.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Yes, Professor.
Yeah. As far as communication is concerned, I feel that sometimes a mode of expression
Yes.
is something we feel that we have to say this,
Yes.
but we are unable to say this. Some gaps remain.
So why?
That is gap. I don't know, ma'am. Like it's, I think, a bit of coordination.
Yes.
That we are supposed to think and speak, but that gapping, I think, is not there, that we have to always think and speak. Sometimes unwanted words to come out. So that way, I think communication should be a more effective, at least from my side, I felt like.
Yes. So that is important. Some gaps always remain. And that is why it is said that whatever we want to communicate is not communicated in the same sense. And that is why misinterpretations are there. That is why barriers are there. That is why gaps are there. And we frequently have misinterpretations or miscommunication. And that is why when we teach in IIMs through Harvard case studies, most of our case studies are based on how these gaps can be resolved, and how the discussion happens between a boss and an employee, and how these errors can be overcome. Okay, so that is why it's important. Second important thing in written communication is you cannot talk to the receiver. You cannot have face-to-face conversation with the receiver, and that makes it more challenging and more difficult. And that is why it's very important to take care of your written communication. So yes, Professor Vishal, you're very correct. It's one-way communication only. And especially in this age of emails, I have published one case study with Harvard Business School. It's set in Ivy, when the tone of an email went wrong. So nowadays we communicate almost every day through emails. Once you click the send button, I feel that the control lies in the hands of the receiver. The control doesn't lie in your hand, isn't it? And that is why we need to take care of our emails also when you are sending them. In what way it will be interpreted, whether it will be misinterpreted, what was the tone, whether courtesy was there, whether your information was complete, how was it put, if it was a longer information, whether you tried to put it in small paragraphs, because nobody has time to read your longer paragraphs right now. So email writing is also an art. So how to do that? Possibly sometimes when I'll get again time, I'll take up a session on that. But even in emails, this non-verbal communication is perceived. That's what I'm talking about. That oral communication, of course, my session is based on how non-verbals can be improved in oral communication. But even in written communication, we need to take care of these non-verbals. Most of us on WhatsApp are communicating through emojis. You are raising your hand right now on this platform. Again, it's a sort of non-verbal communication for me, isn't it? So it's such powerful is non-verbal communication. And that is why it becomes important for us to take care. So the pauses that we take in oral communication are non-verbal. Similarly, the commas, the colons, the semicolons, where you begin with a proper capital, that means stress on particular, writing in bolds, writing in caps lock, all these are signs and symbols that show where to stop, and how written communication is equally important. Okay, so I'll take up that session sometime later on, but quickly let me just have one visual graphic with you. And of course, I want to make the session participative and interactive. Let me just quickly have a check on, I'll ask few questions and you can type it on the chat, and so that we can just have a discussion and begin with non-verbal communication. So let me first test your non-verbal communication skills. And I hope that these questions are quite general, quite basic, and I hope all of you will be able to answer. It's only in true and false. And just type it on the chat so that it becomes easier for me. Okay. Yes. So I begin my questions. I have 15 questions for you, and one by one, I will just read it out, and you have to just type true or false, and I'll explain, or I'll just tell you the answers. Okay, side by side. Okay. Yes. Number one, crossing the hands is a defensive gesture. Okay. Yes. Anyone, true or false? Yes, yes, Prakash ji, yes, I can see so many, yes. Nirmala ji, then Professor Dr. Sachi, and I'm attaching Professor to everybody, so please don't take it personally. Yes, Professor R. Melba, Professor Hannah, yes, it's very much true. Crossing the hands is considered as a defensive gesture. Now, why I'm beginning with this? Because most of us seem to be not too open to communication. That is why we shrink ourselves, isn't it? And especially students I have seen in the classroom, they shrink and they are not open to communication. So why not we should be open to communication? Openness, not only through gestures, through communication, helps you in any sort of misinterpretation. And that is why it's really very helpful. Next, yes. Number two, sitting lower than other person indicates dominance or authority. True or false? Sitting lower than other person indicates dominance or authority. Very good. Yes, it's false. And I'll talk about this space in communication, how it is also one of the important nonverbal communication later on in my slides. Yes. Number three, women have more body language than men. Okay. Somewhat a gender-based question, but I avoid usually. Yes. It's true. Somebody's writing false also, but yes, they are inborn and they are more sensitive towards body language. Maybe they are aware also, and some of them even being aware, they do not reflect, but women have more sense. It's said in researches also that women have more sensitivity towards body language than men. Okay, true. Number four, non-verbal communication.
But I want to ask you, nowadays,
Yes.
no, they claim equal rights and all. Will they agree? Even women will accept this statement?
Yes. No, sensitivity means awareness of body language. Okay. It's not about educating or knowledge. Knowledge wise, I mean, men are equal. They have equal knowledge. Females have equal knowledge. But sensitivity means they understand body. They are aware. They have awareness. I mean, something is there inborn that they understand body language more better. Maybe they are not. They do not have that much of knowledge that yes, they are aware. But it's something which is like, for example, even babies. You will find that babies, they understand, they can smell the body language, isn't it? So something is inborn. So that way, it's not about rights or it's not about it's only that they have more they are more sensitive towards body language. They understand body language much better. They may not reflect and they may not even know. Some of them even may not know that they are sensitive towards body language.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Silence is a powerful form of non-verbal communication. Just now I said, so I think most of you know the answer. Silence is the most powerful form of non-verbal communication. Yes, very good. So all of you know that even if you're silent for a moment in the class, your students know that, yes, now the teacher is angry and she or he wants something. So it's the most powerful form of non-verbal communication. Yes. Face is the most effective channel of non-verbal communication. Anybody? Face is the most effective channel of non-verbal communication. Yes, true. Very good. So how a storehouse of emotions? I have a 2 minutes video. If I'll get time, basic emotions video. And I'll be talking about so many videos in the session, so many books in the session. Please take a note. And whenever you get time, they are available freely on internet. You can take and you can read them. Okay, so it's good. Face is the storehouse of emotions, and I feel that eyes are said to be the windows to the soul of a person, and all of us have seen that. Most of you might be married or unmarried, whatever, but we all know that they are too much expressive and they convey a lot. Good. Yes. Smoking cigarette is considered as a sign of anxiety. How many of you feel so? Maybe, but partially I may be correct. Some are writing no, but some have the habit, or some even smoke out of fashion statement. So there can be many reasons, but one of the reason is out of anxiety also people smoke, isn't it? So it is considered as a sign of anxiety. True. Yes. Next question. The more space a person has, the more power he enjoys. Again, question on space. The more space a person has, the more power he enjoys. Yes, very good. So space, the study of space in communication is called proxemics. Okay, and proxemics is related to power. So power dynamics, it plays a very important role. If you see Amy Cuddy's video, again, I have a TED talk. I have so many videos lined up. I may not be able to show you, but Amy Cuddy is a professor in Harvard, and she has done an intensive research on power dynamics and on non-verbal communication. Her very good cases are published on non-verbals, and she has spoken a lot on how power or dominance or authority plays an important role in non-verbals and how it is signified. So if you see her videos also, she tells that how people with low power sit and react, and how people with high power, they react in their daily spheres and they talk to people. So that is really very good. Okay, yes. When we stop talking to somebody, we stop the entire communication itself. I hope I'm audible, so I'll keep checking, although I'm loud enough in my room, but I don't know. Yes. So when we stop talking to somebody, we stop the entire communication itself. Yes. How it is true? Anyone can explain me. When we stop talking to somebody, we stop entire communication itself. Yes, it's false. Why? Anyone who said yes can explain me why it's yes. If you stop talking to somebody verbally, do you think that you stop talking to him or her non-verbally? No. If a person comes nearer to you, you'll try and avoid. Your body language will show that you are avoiding. Your eyes will show, you will see that person, but you will deliberately try to avoid. Your expressions, your gestures, your body language will show that you're trying to avoid that person. You don't want to talk to that person now. Okay? So that is very important. So non-verbal communication doesn't stop. Remember, it goes on, and that is what it makes it more and more effective. Okay? So that is important. Next, people maintain their deadlines according to their perceptions of time. Now, again, time, one of the important non-verbal communication. Yes, anyone? People maintain their deadlines according to their perceptions of time. Yes, very good, true. And time is different for us. Time is different for Middle Easterners. Time is different for people who are outside, especially Westerners. They are called monochronic people, and we are polychronic. And again, I'll explain that. Monochronic means we do not take care of time. We are not very strict with the time, but you will find people in USA or Westerners, they are very particular about time. So Middle East, Asian people, we are not particular about time. So 5 minutes here and there is okay for us, isn't it? But for them, the time is sharp for them, okay? So that is why time is also, and the study of time is called chronemics in communication. Okay, so I'll again take up that later on. Some non-verbal signs are universal. True or false? Yes. Some non-verbal signs are universal. Good. Yes. So for example, smiling is universal across the world. Crying is universal across the world. This sign, victory, universal. Bye-bye. Okay, come, go. All these signs. Some of the signs are universal. Okay, so some non-verbal signs are universal, but again, understanding non-verbals of each country or each culture is very important, because they vary from culture to culture, and that is why non-verbal communication is very difficult to interpret. For you, it may mean something else. For me, it may mean something else. So we need to be aware of each other's culture, and we need to understand the sensitivity of non-verbal communication according to each other's culture. Okay, so that's very important. Next, it is difficult to fake body language for a long time, isn't it? Yes. It is difficult to fake body language for a long time, although we learn through various counselors, various coaches, various trainers. But if you try and imitating, that will not appear natural. So it should come from within. You should learn from within how to talk, how to react to people, how to have expressions on your face, and that should come out naturally, not somebody who's forcing you or somebody who's pushing you. So you cannot make it for a long time. But Amy Cuddy has said it's fake it till you make it. I hope you must have heard her saying that. So she says that learn that art of faking till you make it perfectly. So that means what she means is try and learn that, try and imitate, learn some of the good or positive non-verbal communication, and that will be helpful. Okay, yes. One or two more, and then possibly I'll stop. Steepling with fingers shows confidence. Steepling. This sign is called steepling. So steepling with fingers is a sign of confidence. Most of you may not be knowing this. Yes, it's yes. This sign usually used by politicians outside, this gesture of steepling, and they talk like this, okay? That means it's absolute confidence with which they are speaking. If somebody is using this, remember from next time that this is the perfect sign of confidence. So it's yes, it's very much true. That's the steepling, although it doesn't come under crossed, like when you are sitting this way crossed or standing this way with crossed hands, this may shows defense. This is a defensive gesture and it is not a positive gesture, but this one is a positive gesture. So steepling with finger shows confidence. Okay. Let me have the last one. Gestures have their cultural connotations and may differ, and they may differ from culture to culture. Yes, gestures. Yes, very good. So they have their own cultural connotations, and it's very important for us to understand culture of each and every nation, especially when you're cross-cultural communication has emerged as an important study now, and that is why we need to understand. So I teach usually in my emails, if there are two people, one is Mexican, one is Dutch, or one is Indian, whatever, and they are exchanging emails, even their email writing, even their perception, everything will be different. So some may be too direct in their communication. Some may begin with a proper setting up or a relationship building. Some may only focus on work, isn't it? We also tell in our everyday lives that we need, when we are writing emails, we are writing it in a very professional way. So we need to only put up what is important for our work. But some people value relationship, isn't it? So they want to establish relationship through this work. So that is why they write something which builds their relationship. So in our everyday lives also, it's very important to understand culture. And for example, touching the feet is considered as a mark of respect in India. But if you go outside, it may not be. So that is why we need to try and understand each other's culture. And that is why it's very important. Let me just quickly go through, let me just take you through one of the important visual graphic. And I will just ask you a few questions and then I'll take you through my slides, because I usually do not prefer teaching through slides, but for you, I have prepared some slides so that you can have some takeaways from this session. So one visual aid I would like to share with you, and it's an ad from Accenture. All of you know Accenture is a consulting company, and through that visual, through that poster, I would just like to have your perception. What do you understand? And this time I want hands, not on chats. So I want hands so that I can speak to you people also. Okay. So let me just share, and let me have one visual aid. Yes. Yes. Is my screen visible to you? Yes. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So just a check, because we are all in the online mode, and so we have to keep checking our voices and videos and slides. Yes. I just want to know, if somebody has any perception. This is a poster ad from Accenture. Accenture is, all of you know, a good consulting company, and very famous for animal ads. After they broke up with Tiger Woods, they started their advertising through use of animals in their poster ads. So another one which is famous is the use of elephant in their visual aids. The another important ad that I take up is Volkswagen. Again, elephant tied up, blindfolded, and in a room. And this ad from Volkswagen, it received so much of criticism that even the animal rights, Animal Welfare Association, they protested the use of animals. But this one is not so. So I just want to have your perception on this ad. What does this ad convey? What are your perceptions? Anyone? Yes. So Professor Dr. Ram Gopal Nityanandam. Yes, Ji. Can you tell me, what do you understand, or what are your perceptions? Because it's also a form of non-verbal communication, because you have to understand from this graphic, whatever your perception. And I just want to show you that how perceptions differ from people to people and how this perception is one of the important interpersonal skills. Yes. Yes, Dr. Ram Gopal.
To be frank with you, madam, I'm not get anything. To me, it looks funny, like I'm not
Yes,
even
it
able to
looks
understand
funny.
what is happening. Like
Yes.
it's a lizard or something, no? Something is coming through his mouth, but
Yes.
I'm not able to. Sorry.
You are not able to understand, but you are able to see something very funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Professor Fani Kumari. Yes, Professor Fani.
Good morning, madam. Yes, I can understand that it is a smart work. It is a smart work, and the chameleon, it shows the shape of a flower, and it attracts the butterfly. So
Very
it
good.
gets changing its idea. It gets the opportunity very near to it.
Yes.
So I feel it gets opportunity by using the smart work and the innovative method.
Yes, very good. So they are focusing on innovation, and very good, Professor Fani. Good round of applause for her. So something which is very smart. I can say Chameleon is outsmarting his or its skills, and that is very important. Professor Sukanya, yes.
Yeah, good morning, madam. What I perceive is that if you innovate, they will come. So this is one way of attracting customers.
Yes.
And even employees, probably, because those who want to work for an innovative type of company, they will come. So I think it's meant for both employees as well as customers. So that is what I perceive from this ad.
Very good. So Professor Sukanya, you are focusing on the core element which Accenture wants, and that is innovation. So if you will innovate, they will come. That means even the company needs to, even the company absorbs people who are innovative. Okay? So in that sense, good perception and very correctly put. Yes, Professor Prakash. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Very good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Now, as we see that Accenture is multinational company, right? And always they need a candidate. They need employee who has various skill sets, right?
Yes.
So the way Sukanya ma'am has said, company also required employees, and employees also want jobs. So it is a two-way process. So company should also have some strategies, some techniques where employees should feel that yes, this is the right company, this is the right place where I can showcase my skill sets. And company also should feel yes, this is the right candidate, this is the perfect place for glorying and have innovation in the work culture.
Very good. Yes. So the customers or the client should also feel that they are going to a very good place where they can grow and experience such. Okay. Yes. Let me have one or two more, and then possibly I'll put up different questions. Yes, sir. Yes, Professor Vishal Chandra Pandey.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
In this one, I will to see that the lizard is just on the brighter side, and nearby area is green, and it means that is light up already. So for the company who is with the bright lights and all, they can able to see. But when you see the background, that is dark.
Yes.
It means the area where they are focusing is they are unknown. They are not aware that what is their target of who will be their target customer. And to reach to that place, what they have done, they have lighted a flower. So if any company which wants to attract, it is very important to understand the need of the customer. Accordingly, they can able to provide the customer can be attracted. It may be for the company, they do not know where they have to get a customer, but possibility is always on.
Yes. Good. I would like the participants to keep themselves on mute. Only the person who is speaking should be unmuted. Rest of the participants, I want all of you to please put yourself on mute. I can still see some of the participants. Otherwise, I will have to come. Yes. So very good. So it speaks about the clients. It speaks about how the clients can come and approach the organization and how it's very important. Again, I would like to ask some of the participants, why chameleon only, or why this lizard? Anybody? The choice of this animal. Yes, Dr. Arun Prasad.
Yes, ma'am, that chameleon is a symbol of it changing its color according to the
Yes.
situation. So
Yes.
like that, if you want to adapt the situation according to that, whatever problem, you should be changed according to adapt that situation. That is
Yes.
why they are showing that chameleon.
Yes, so it has the power of
So-
adaptability, and that is why they have particularly chosen chameleon. Yes.
Yes.
Anything else that you can understand for chameleon? Yes, Professor Dolon.
Actually, it is also a uniqueness.
Yes,
It shows a
uniqueness.
uniqueness.
Yes, it is also uniqueness. Anything else?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
As chameleon changes its color, so we too are changing with the change of the situation. For example, since this pandemic is going on, we are
Yes.
having a virtual online platform to continue our continuous professional development.
Yes.
So this is a kind of an activity that we are also involved into. So it is a
Yes.
kind of symbolism
Yes.
that with the situation we need to change our mentality, our
Moods. Yes.
our outlook also.
Yes.
So
Very
that is
much
what,
true.
ma'am.
So yes, so innovation is required everywhere, and especially in your work life, it's very important that how do you innovate, and particularly that is why I think this chameleon is used. Any other thing anybody can associate with this chameleon? Yes. And especially with related to this ad. Anybody else? Yes. If I can have a few hands, let me just see. Yes. I cannot see some. Yes. Yes, Dr. Parinaz.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I see it as, am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I see it as that maybe Accenture is trying to modify its services according to the clients.
Yes.
So that is why the chameleon, and as per the needs of the clients, Accenture tries to provide them the services as required.
Okay, yes,
So
very good.
different
So it can
clientele,
change.
different needs. Yes.
Yes. So it can change and adapt, and that is why that it can change according to the needs of the customer also. So that is one way, good way of putting it. Although it has negative connotations also, whenever I take up this ad, some of the participants have reacted negatively to this ad also, because negative connotations are always there, and it's about perception. You may feel it in a negative way also, like it can be perceived as something which is trapping the customers. Okay, and I'll talk about it. So that can be also perceived by some, and it's all about perception. So this may be also correct, because dark surroundings and somebody you're trying to lure, somebody you're trying to attract by skill, and you're doing it very tactfully, and you're trying to trap the customer into your organization. They're not coming by choice. You are trapping them. Okay, so this can be one of the negative connotation that is associated with this ad. But anything else, anything about chameleon? I'm looking for 2 or 3 special characters. One is adaptability. It can, one of the professors just now said, it can change its colors. It has the capability to camouflage. All of us know that. Anything else? Yes. So let me just brief you this animal. Yes, Professor Bhanu, I can see your hands. Yes, Professor Bhanu Revati.
Ma'am, it has a very long tongue to
Yes.
catch the prey.
Very
So
good.
it has a fire outreach.
Yes. So it has it can modify its foot-long tongue, isn't it? Yes. So in actuality, or when you see this animal, it doesn't have such a long tongue. But here, Accenture is saying that it has the capability to modify its foot-long tongue in the form of a flower. Okay. Now this flower is very important for whom? For the butterfly, because it will stick to this, because butterflies needs flower, and that is why chameleon understands the needs of flower, and metaphorically flowers are the customers or the clients, isn't it? And that is why chameleon is particularly used here, especially the ability to camouflage. Second important thing is it can roll each eyeball independently. It has the capacity to roll each eyeball independently. That means it can look in any direction. Especially one specific feature with the chameleon is that while moving forward, it can even look backwards. Okay, so that means this looking ability and this futuristic vision, or this holistic vision of seeing everything around, is very well perceived by chameleon. And for this reason, chameleon is particularly used. One important reason is, of course, camouflaging. Second important is this vision ability which chameleon possesses. And you will see all green surroundings here. So it can camouflage in the green surroundings and become one with nature. Okay, so that is why. That means Accenture as a company can adjust according to the needs of the customers. Now, again, I am saying that the chameleon does not have in reality such a long tongue, but here it is showing that how it is innovating, how chameleon is outsmarting its skills, and how it's projecting its foot-long tongue in the form of a flower, so that the butterflies can attract. And you'll see that the people who are coming to Accenture, see butterfly, the color, again, non-verbal communication. I don't know how many of you understand the significance of the colors. So, and I usually teach this in PowerPoints. There is one very good book available for PowerPoints, and that is Slideology by Nancy Duarte. It's available freely on internet. Please read it whenever you have time. It's one perfect book for how to prepare slides for your presentation. Okay, Slideology by Nancy Duarte. Okay, and this blue color butterfly shows that the customers are very cool. They come with a very cool mind. They get very good atmosphere, and that is why they are able to stay in the Accenture. You will find a dark background. I want to just comment somebody to talk on this dark background which is used in the ad. Why not the advertiser has used white and this could have been shown better? Anyone? Why this black background? Yes, anybody else? If I can see some. Yes. Yes. Professor Sri V. Paraprasad. Yes. Why this black background? Professor Vishal. Yes. Why this black background?
Ma'am, black colors normally always sometimes show the stability. Means it's a steady color which cannot be changed by the influence of other color.
Yes.
And hide all the negative things, you can say, and it can able to attract the flies, because in this ad they're showing that flies are there. So flies are, if they are in the black shade, so they see the flower which is the lighted, so they can be attracted easily, because they are not able to see the insect directly because they are in the black. But when they give a flower with a little bit light, the insects which are hiding themselves, they are coming out from the dark.
Okay, so that may be your perception, but let me tell you, this dark color is basically used to project the competitive business environment that exists in today's world. So you have to fit yourself, even the chameleon or even the clients, you have to fit and work yourself in this tough business environment. So this dark black color and background reflects the business environment that we have to face, and this competitive environment, and how can we adjust ourselves in this competitive environment. Now, even this is linked to predator and prey logic, which I'm not speaking, because as company, when you need to survive, you need clients, you need customers. Otherwise, how will you survive? So similarly, for survival, chameleon needs insects. Otherwise, how will it survive? So chameleon metaphorically represents Accenture, and the butterfly butterflies the customers or the clients, and how they come along and get adjusted to this environment if they innovate. So remember, the key driving feature is innovation, and chameleon is innovating here and capturing the insects. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing this and I'll come back to my slides so that I can speak to you people, and I can again share some important things which are related to non-verbal communication. Yes. Let me just see. Yes. Yes. I hope my screen is visible. I'll just put on the
Yes, ma'am.
yes. Yes. So non-verbal communication, since my the session which is assigned to me is non-verbals, and I have spoken and I have taught non-verbal communication a lot. And I usually teach through Harvard studies, but there is a limitation because we cannot procure Harvard studies here. So I thought at least I should take up some activity through which we can analyze non-verbal communication. If towards the end of the session, I have one power talk that is between Ratan Tata and Narayan Murthy, and how these two business icons or these two leaders, even you can analyze the body language of our political leaders or any public speaker that you like, and you will try and understand how they use different types of non-verbals. One very good video is available with me, and that is on Amitabh Bachchan's movie Main Azad Hoon, and how he's speaking on the dais and using all different types of presentations and non-verbals to convince the audience. So non-verbal communication is an important and impactful form of communication. Remember, it is rather more important than verbal communication, and most of us, we do not realize so. So Darwin said that it can be inherited by nature. That means some of us are born with it, and genetically it is there. But Hall and Goff were the people who said that it can be even nurtured. Even if you do not know, even if you do not have awareness, it can be learned, and gradually you can start practicing your own non-verbals. Okay. So the learning objective of this session is to provide 4 reasons for studying non-verbal communication. Why we should study, why we should understand non-verbal communication. Discuss some elements that reveal the nature of non-verbal communication. Identify and explain these non-verbal codes and Mehrabian's 3-part framework for interpreting non-verbal clues. Okay, so this is important. So communication skills, as I told you, that it's about adaptability, it's about having awareness of yourself. Then how do you interpret verbal message, how do you interpret non-verbal message, and how do you listen and respond. I keep telling my audience every time that listening is the most important form of communication skills. Written communication is the most difficult form of communication skills. So listening is important, but we neglect this listening skills, and listening is the mother of communication skills. And that is why I think I always tell my participants that God has given us 1 mouth and 2 ears. Why? So that we should speak less and we should listen more. But we do vice versa, isn't it? We listen less and we speak more. So we should focus more on listening, and that should be empathetic listening. It may be critical listening. It may be evaluative listening. It may be comprehensive listening. It may be active listening, different types of listening. But we should be involved in lending our ears to somebody, and that is what makes listening skills more and more important. So unless and until you will listen, you will not be able to respond. Similarly, if you are also speaking and if somebody is unable to listen to you, he may or she may not be responding. So for getting a proper response, listening skills is important. Adapting to messages of others, how to understand, how to interpret messages, that is also very important. And be aware of your communication skills yourself, and also be aware of the communication skills of others. It's very important. So effectively use and interpret verbal messages. Remember, when I say verbal messages, it means oral communication. How many times in oral communication or in your everyday life, when you're talking with your peers, you need to say with your friends, with your colleagues, every time you say, oh, I didn't mean to say this, I didn't mean to say that. That means you're clarifying your message. So why was your message not clear at the very first instance? Because you lacked clarity of thought and expression. So it's very important. Then effectively use and interpret non-verbal messages. So how do you effectively use and how do you interpret these non-verbal signs and messages? Okay. So why focus on non-verbal communication? So non-verbal messages communicate feelings and attitudes. And again, these play feelings, attitudes, emotions, assumptions, prejudices, biasness, all this play very important role in interpersonal skills. They are important forms of interpersonal skills. So when you will study, I think when you will have sessions on interpersonal skills, your resource person might be able to tell you that how different attitudes, how different perceptions, how different assumptions, they play a very important role. And it's very important. Attitude towards something. I want to narrate this through a very small example. A man writes a letter to God. I usually teach through short stories. So I keep my students engaging with them. So a man writes a letter to God, and he writes a letter that I deliberately need rupees 100 or $100, whatever. And he drops that letter in the post box. This is from Professor Manipoli's book that I'm taking this example. And he drops that letter in the letter box, and the letter reaches God. Okay. The letter, actually, he feels that the letter reaches God. And what happens? The people in the post office, they open the letter and they see that somebody has written, I desperately need rupees 100. So what these post office people do, they contribute rupees 80. They put that in that envelope and they send it again to that person. The person becomes very happy by seeing the envelope. And when he opens, he finds only rupees 80. 20 rupees were missing from that envelope. So again, he writes a letter to God and he writes in that letter, Dear God, these post office people are so wretched that they have stolen 20 rupees out of the 100 that you have sent. So without even thinking, without even bothering, and we have the tendency to jump to conclusion, we have tendency to stereotype, we have our own attitude, and our mind works only in one direction, that 20 rupees must have been stolen and there were 100. But you know the reality that instead the post office people had put in rupees 80, contributed from themselves to help that person out. So this is the difference in outlook. This is the difference in attitude. This is the difference in the way we perceive things in our everyday life. So that is, they are also important non-verbal communication skills. Non-verbal messages are more believable than verbal ones. So all of us should take care. And because you can make your thoughts, you can make your messages more convincing through non-verbals rather than verbal communication. How aware are you of the power of non-verbal communication? Now, since I have not met you and I'm meeting you for the first time, but think about your confrontations that you've had in the past. So people with whom you have some sort of confrontation, were you aware that people will react to you non-verbally? Now think in the non-verbal terms. What were his expressions? What were his gestures? How annoyed he became? What were his facial expressions? Was he frowning? Was he trembling? Some people have so much of anger that they start shivering, isn't it? Some people are so cool and smiling personalities. Okay, so different types of people we meet in our everyday lives. How does their non-verbal affect us, whether we are aware or not? Okay, so non-verbal communication, in your opinion, in our opinion, it communicates emotions effectively. The volume, the pitch, the voice qualities, and in non-verbals, we have a specific term assigned for this voice qualities, and it is called paralinguistics. So the intensity, the gestures, the expressions, the body position, even the posture that we hold in our everyday lives, they are actually they are unspoken verbal meanings, and that is why it makes us, all of us, it makes us important to study these. So non-verbal messages are critical to successful relationships. So as I told you, in building relationships, it's very important to take care of the non-verbal messages, and they serve multiple functions. Number one is substitute. So they can substitute your verbal message. They can complement your verbal message. They can even contradict your verbal message. How? For example, just now, if you tell somebody, ma'am, you please come to my place. I will be very pleased to have you at my home and you are welcome. And he's saying with such a smiling gesture, and you tend to believe and you go to that person. And when you reach his doorstep, you get from his expression
I think ma'am is facing some technical difficulties. Let's wait for a few minutes to see if she's back.
Yes, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So got disconnected, and I'm sorry for that because there was sudden power cut off, and I had to I'll again start sharing my slides from here, and possibly I'll be able to get back. Yes. Yes. So I was talking on non-verbal communication, that how does they serve multiple functions, and they can substitute, they can contradict, they can repeat, and they can regulate or accent your verbal communication. So for emphasis, we usually use non-verbals, and that is why it's very important to take care, because most of us, we focus only on developing our oral or verbal communication, and we are not bothered about non-verbal communication. So all these are the different functions of non-verbal communication. They can be used for substitution. And as I told you that without even speaking, you can convey everything. If you want to see, you can see 2011, one beautiful movie came up in 2011, The Artist. The movie is a silent movie, black and white movie, and it won many Academy Awards. And how beautiful that movie is, everything is conveyed through non-verbals. Even in our Indian context also, we have so many movies like Black conveying through non-verbals. Yes. So we have a dual nature of nonverbal communication. It is culture bound, as I told you, that we need to be aware and we need to take care of the nonverbal communication of each and every culture. Then nonverbal communication is also rule governed. So when I say rule governed means you have to follow certain norms of each other's culture, and that is why it is impactful, and it helps you in understanding each other's culture, gestures, and nonverbal communication. Okay, if you are not obeying them, if you're not taking care of their rules, it is considered as a violation of that theory. So there is this expectancy violations theory, which speaks about that we develop rules or expectations for non-verbal behavior. How close we should stand to somebody, how far we should stand to somebody, the way we greet others, the way we talk to people. So when we react to those expressions, when we react to those gestures, the expectations are violated. So we need to take care and we need to understand. So remember two things about non-verbals. It's very important that it's culture bound and it is rule governed, and we need to take care. So you can see here President Lyndon Johnson, and he was the 36th president of USA, and he's speaking to somebody, and he was an advocate for civil rights. I hope you all know that civil rights movement which was there in America, and how close he's speaking and talking to the other person. The other person who is standing, he's just closed his eyes, isn't it? You can see in the visual, and that is why it came. The phrase came up, and that is called the Johnson treatment. So he's talking to Whitney Young, and the Young is so much uncomfortable with the president that he has closed his eyes. So remember, if you are occupying somebody's personal space, how does one feel? So you need to take care about the space or the body language, how you're reacting, how you're talking. Otherwise, how it will be uncomfortable, especially the person whom you are meeting very officially. Okay? So all of us need to take care of these things. So the nature of non-verbal communication, all of us know that gestures are an important form of non-verbal communication. And I'm not going into the dictionary meaning because I usually explain in simple terms. It's the movement of your hands and your body, movement of your shoulders, shrugging your shoulders, movement of your hands, nodding of your heads. All these are important gestures, but gestures have cultural background. So as I just now told you that gestures differ from culture to culture, and they can be learned within the society and the culture to which one belongs. They can even accompany spoken language, or they can even stand alone. Okay, like for example, when you are teaching and you are pointing some map, or you're pointing it on your slides through the small light projector, that is also a form of non-verbal communication. So pointing a place on map while speaking, all these are important gestures. Now, body language can be voluntary, body language can be involuntary also. So voluntary body language, like when you are smiling, when you're shaking hands, when you are imitating actions. So some gestures which you are intentionally doing, they are voluntary body language. Then involuntary language, there is a realization of what is being communicated. For example, formal patting and hugging is also a form of voluntary body language. Then there is involuntary body language. For example, when you are at the airport and the custom people, they frisk you, they doubt you, and even police, customs, they usually use this involuntary body language. And this reminds me of an incident in Times of India long back. It's a real incident, and it came in the newspaper that one lady, she was going and she was thoroughly frisked at the airport. Now, why? Because when the custom officer asked her, what is your occupation? And she said, none. And the custom officer was bewildered. He thought that her occupation is none. And she is she has dressed up like, and decked up like very heavily. And she's wearing so many ornaments and good dress up, and she's a nun. But her husband had told her that whenever you meet custom people, you should speak very less. So when the custom people asked her, what is your occupation? She said, none. She meant to say that I have no occupation. And she said, she should have immediately said that I'm a housewife, I have no occupation. But she said none. And he perceived as NUN. Okay. So these custom people, they have the habit of asking us questions, but then how we are responding and replying, that is also very important. What does it signify? So in the morning session, when I started, I had few quizzes for you. And as I told you that crossing arms and legs while standing is considered as a defensive gesture, which means that you do not want to mingle with others. If you're seated with cross arms, this can mean sympathy or empathy. But if you're standing with cross arms, it means that you do not want to mix with people. Now, feet are also an important part in communication. I don't know. One very important thing which you might have noted or not noted, if you're standing or sitting, or you're talking to somebody, your feet will surely move in the direction of the people to whom you're talking. Okay? So that is also an important body language gesture. Openness is revealed with open hands, unbuttoned coat. Now, so many I have noticed, and I'll surely pass on my slides to you so that you can understand. Defensiveness is revealed through arms crossed, sideways glance, touching, rubbing nose. Very important. Non-verbal. I have seen many people doing it, and especially my students during presentation. They come and they just snub or rub their nose or rubbing of eyes. Okay. So these are all defensive gestures. Insecurity by pinching flesh, chewing pen, putting thumb over thumb, or biting fingernails. All of you know that. Cooperation is revealed through upper body in sprinter's position. What is the sprinter's position? Anyone? Anyone who can speak up? What is sprinter's position? Yes? Sri P. Varaprasadji. I want my participants to be there with me. Anyone who can tell me what is sprinter's position?
Ma'am, you are putting your hands together, the fingers in front of your body. So that it shows that the positiveness about.
See, sprinter is one who runs.
Yeah. Body in the forward direction. Body is in the forward direction. Body is in front and the lower part of the body behind.
Yes. So the upper part of the body is as if you are about to run. The sprinter is the person who runs well. Okay. So you are leaning a bit forward, and that is the position, and that is called sprinter's position. So your cooperation is if you're bending a little forward and as if you're just about to run, it shows that you are in the cooperative mode. Okay. And this is very important position, especially when you are in the classroom, when students are attending your lectures and they show cooperation by leaning a bit forward. Okay. Open hand sitting on the edge of the chair, not occupying whole of the chair, edge of the chair, again shows you are cooperating. Hand to face gestures, unbuttoning coat. Okay. Confidence, as I told you, is revealed through steeple hands, hands behind the back stiffened, hands in the pockets with thumbs out. Again, very important gesture, because most of us put our hands in the pockets, but with thumb out is a special and unique gesture which some of the people maintain it. Nervousness, very important gesture, is revealed through clearing of throat, whistling, smoking, fidgeting, covering mouth, jingling money or keys, tugging ears. Okay, so all these are important signs of nervousness. Frustration through short breaths, then tightly clenched hands, fist-like gestures. What is fist-like position? This fig leaf position. Rubbing hands through hair, rubbing back of neck. All these are gestures which show frustrations. So non-verbal behavior, it's, I mean, a wide study. You cannot complete it in especially one session. There are, say, various books available, especially on non-verbals, and you can read through and understand different connotations of non-verbal communication. So touching or slightly rubbing nose, evaluation, thinking, rejection, all these are different gestures which are shown through slightly rubbing of nose. Rubbing of eye shows doubt or disbelief. Hands clasped at the back shows anger, frustration, apprehension. Locked ankle shows apprehension. Inspecting fingernails. Very often if you are seeing your fingernails or looking at a watch, it shows boredom. Okay? Brisk walk, erect walk, standing with hands on hips shows confidence, readiness, and aggression. Arms crossed on the chest, again defensiveness. Walking with hands in the pockets, shoulders hunched shows dejection. Okay? So different body language, and I'm not going into details. Again, as I told you, it's a very vast study and you can read it out. There are different codes of nonverbal communication. The first one is appearance. So all of us should take care how we dress in our daily lives, because that is also very important. That reflects the way, I think that the outward personality is reflected through your appearance. And if you, once you speak up, your verbals and your non-verbals also show what type of person you are. So you need to take care. Artifacts are the emblems which show the cultural heritage of a particular culture or a state or a place. They are also important codes of non-verbal communication. For example, if you go to Gujarat, you will see those drawings. If you come to my Raipur, I am Raipur, you'll find as soon as you enter Chhattisgarh, you'll find beautiful, those tribal drawings. So they indicate the culture of that particular state. So that is how they are also important codes of non-verbal behavior. Body movement, gestures, and posture. And one important study of body movement, and that is called kinesics in communication. So kinesics is the study of body movement or body language. Okay? Eye contact is oculesics, and that is the study of eye contact in communication. It's very important to maintain eye contact. Why? It shows the truthfulness of the receiver. It shows the authenticity of the person who is speaking. It shows the knowledge level of the person who is speaking. Facial expressions, again, very important. And as I told you, that it is the most powerful means of nonverbal communication. Touch, the study of haptics is, and there are touch ethics, whom you should touch to what extent, and all of you know that when you are there in your organizations, when you are there at your homes, how you should behave, and that is important. Voice, as I told you, paralanguage or vocalics is the study of nonverbal communication of voice. So we need to take care, the pitch, volume, the rate and speed of words, all these come under voice qualities, okay? Now this touch, Americans don't like touch, so they need to be somewhere, they have a distance in space. As I told you, in India, we have different cultural norms. They may be considered good, whereas in other countries, they may not be considered good. Gentle pat or shaking hands shows warmth. Americans, they like solid grid of handshake. Now I teach several types of handshakes also. There is the knuckle grinder. There is the dead fish handshake. There is the arm pullover handshake. There is hand-to-hand handshake. So what I mean to say here is simply that we should have a firm grip of handshake, where I feel that Middle Easterners and Orientals, their grip is not so firm. So they have a gentle grip of handshake. So it should be somewhere solid. And that is what is accepted globally also. Then physical environment, space and territory. So this is very important. And I told you the use of space in communication is called proxemics. There is a word called proxemics. Now the space of a person varies. So we have intimate space, we have personal space, we have social space, and we have public space. The politicians, they maintain public space. And these zones of space are given by Edward T. Hall, and there are 4 zones of space. So public space, then so the first one is intimate space, which is 0 to 1.5 feet. Okay, and the second one is personal space. Then there is the public space, and then there is the social space. So different types of spaces and how we should behave, and these spaces are important, and that is why the study of space. Territory is also very important. If you are occupying somebody's space, if you are occupying somebody's territory, then he or me may feel offended, and that is why we need to take care of this territory. Okay. Then there is Mehrabian's rule. So Mehrabian spoke on the 3 principles, and that is immediacy, arousal, and dominance. So he says for this immediacy, arousal, and dominance, we need to take care of our non-verbal. So these are different types of non-verbal communication. You can see who's most powerful in this room. I think the person who is sitting with legs on the table because he's enjoying more space. Okay, and that shows that he may be the boss of that cabin. He may be the person who is. It may be his cabin, and that is why he's sitting like this. But this is an offensive gesture, and this shows dominance or authority. So when I talk about dominance or authority, there are three types of power. Let me just brief you. One is the legitimate power, then one is the referent power, and the third one is the expert power. So legitimate power, which all hierarchical organizations enjoy. For example, there is a boss in our organization. We follow a typical hierarchical structure. So that is the legitimate power. Then there is a referent power where boss is not so important. Work is centralized and all subordinates and the other people, employees in the organization, they have equal powers. So they can take decisions uniformly. So that is the referent power. And the third power the third type of power is called the expert. Of us have, because we all are teachers and we all have expertise in some subject, isn't it? So that is also a power that we enjoy. So there are different types of power, and these power dynamics are spoken well by many people. So kinesics, coming back to my nonverbals, this is the science of body language, and it is the outward expression of feelings. It is said that actions are more powerful than words, isn't it? And they reveal the truth. So it was said by somebody that words tell me the story, but body language tells me the whole story. So even if you're speaking with words, your body language is incomplete, then your story is not complete. Moods and emotions, everything is expressed through body language. So we should take care. So I had one question, that face is the storehouse and the most important form of communication. So facial expressions, they reveal moods or emotions. When you're sad, angry, frenzied, frustrated, everything is revealed, I think, through only this part of the space, a face, and none of your body can express that. And that is why it is said to be the storehouse of emotions. Okay. So 6 basic facial expressions: joy, sorrow, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust. Everything is revealed through this facial expressions. So the study of eyes in body in non-verbals is called oculesics. And eye contact and gaze is different. So gaze means looking or staring at a person, but eye contact means mutual gaze. And that is what we should try and maintain, mutual gaze. So maintaining eye contact signals genuineness, as I told you, authenticity. Americans have a habit of looking at directly, but Japanese and Koreans, they avoid eye contact. And you will even feel that people who have high communication apprehension, that means people who are hesitant to speak in public, or mixed with public, or mixed with people, or lack some social skills, they cannot hold eye contact for a longer period of time. The study of eye contact, I think this eye contact is, if you have even seen this Japanese comic manga, you'll find that how they are communicating through eye contact, an expressive way of communicating through eye contact. So I'll just stop sharing, and I'll have one small video for you, 2 minutes video on basic emotions. And then I'll play 10 minutes power talk, and possibly 5 minutes I will discuss if I'll have time on this particular video. So let me just share this small video, basic emotions, if I have it. Just a minute. Or let me just play power talk video, because I think this will help you understand some of the body language or the gestures. So I'm just playing it for first 10 to 12 minutes, and we will discuss the body language of the two business icons. How do you feel about them? Please listen and take notes when you are seeing it very carefully. Yes.
I'm in the same place.
I just want to check whether it's audible and visible, both. Yes, anyone? Okay, yes.
Yes, ma'am, perfect. Yes, ma'am, perfect.
Actually, I forgot, it was my turn. You know, we start off this session with what I would call, our event, with what I would say is our dream session. We've been wanting to do this for a long, long time, and eventually we managed to get both the gentlemen at the same time in the same place, and also to have somebody like Shekhar Gupta to moderate this session for us is bonus. So I would like to invite Mr. Ratan Tata. Thank you very much. And Mr. Narayana Murthy. And to conduct this historic session for TiE, no other than Shekhar Gupta.
Thank you very much and good morning everybody. I hope I am audible to all of you. Right there. I am very fortunate because I have two panelists who need absolutely no introduction. So I can get down to the job right away, which is leaving the floor to them to talk. All of you know the theme, all of you know why we are here. We have some ideas of what we want to hear from them, but they may not have much idea of what I may want to ask them or to start this off. I'm going to ask them a few questions, each one of them, and maybe get them to ask each one the odd question, and then we have time to move to the audience. So, Mr. Narayana Murthy, if I may ask you, when was the first time you heard of a man called Ratan Tata, and what did it mean to you?
I think we have all heard about Ratan for quite some time when he came back from Cornell with a wonderful degree in architecture, and he spent time at Nelco. And when I heard that he was going to take over from JRD, I said, oh, it's so nice that the Tatas have continued their wonderful value system, because we had all heard about simplicity, Ratan's humility, Ratan's extraordinary focus on achieving the objective. So my feeling was, frankly, was one of relief that the Tata legacy will continue, because my wife is an extraordinarily loyal to Tatas. And she felt relieved, and when she felt relieved, I also felt relieved.
The same question to you. When did you first hear of a man called Narayana Murthy, and what did that mean to you?
The first time I heard of Murthy was, in fact, in connection with Infosys, the storybook software company that had been built. And I can't remember when, but then I finally met him. And I was, there's a great reputation before I did come to meet him, but when I did meet him, I had expected a rather, obviously satisfied, perhaps a rather arrogant person. On the contrary, I met somebody who we instantly became friends. And the first time I remember actually spending time with him was when he invited me to the Infosys campus. And I think I've been someone that's joined the rank of admirers ever since.
Invited with TCS as well at some point?
No, I haven't, because we, with humility, don't have a campus that measures him, and we don't have the space to plant as many trees as he has from various dignitaries all over the world. When we do, I will.
But you are friends, but you also compete in the marketplace.
Well, I think this, in my opinion, is the way competition should be. I have tremendous respect for Tatas. I have tremendous respect for Ratan. And I think to be able to compete with his group is an honor to Infosys. And we have so far conducted ourselves as worthy competitors to Ratan's TCS.
You know, when you look at contemporary history, there's always a debate about which is the most important year of our time, or which is the most awful year, or which is the most wonderful year. And the debate goes on and on and on. And people say 1987, somebody says 1998, somebody says 2001 because 9/11 happened. But let me tell you, there was one more year in our time, which was a very significant year for India. And that year was 1981. That was the year Mr. Tata became chairman of his group. That was the year Infosys was launched. And does anybody recollect where was Dr. Manmohan Singh then? He was member secretary of the Planning Commission. So from 81 to 2009, idea of India has got totally redefined.
Yes. So I've just stopped sharing and I want some inputs from you people. If you want, you can raise your hands, those who are watching. Yes, Professor Himani, what do you feel about the video? Yes.
My first input is that somewhere or the other, Mr. Tata was into more of open communication in comparison to Mr. Narayan Murthy. Because if we take one example, the way Narayan Murthy sir was sitting, he was sitting with a closed leg position. But Mr. Ratan Tata sir, he was sitting with open legs. So that is one input from my side. And apart from this, second input is that somewhere the facial gestures which Ratan sir was showing, that was more comfortable and that was giving a more open communication indication in comparison to Murthy sir.
Okay, yes. So that's good. So your perception, yes, Professor Himani, very good. And you felt the same way. Let me see the chat. Some of them are writing. Please look at the chats. Yes, if I can see. Yes. But I want is humble and amazing character. Of course, all this is there. But anyone who can just speak, I want not on chats. For you, I can understand because some of you may be facing network issues. Yes, Professor Sukanya Rao.
Yeah, like Himani said, I too feel that Ratan Tata was more comfortable on stage. I thought Narayan Murthy looked a bit nervous, so that is why he crossed his legs. And even if you look at the tone of his voice, it sounded very, a bit artificial or a little fake. He tried to make it very deep. And then, I thought he ran out of words because he stretched some words. And so this is what I felt when I heard Narayan Murthy, but Ratan Tata was absolutely comfortable. So this is my perspective. Thank you so much.
Very good, Professor. Yes, good inputs. Yes, I can have one or two participants more. Please raise your hands if you want to speak, because otherwise it will be difficult for me to read. Yes, Trisha Ghoshal. Yes.
Even I felt like my fellow mates over here that Ratan Tata was much more relaxed, and I felt he was confident. I'm not saying Narayan Murthy wasn't, but in comparison, he was much more confident person, relaxed, and his communication, his facial expression was also showing that he was much more relaxed and confident. But I felt Mr. Narayan Murthy was little more maybe nervous in front of Ratan Tata, because Ratan Tata occupies a bigger position company wise, or that's the feeling that I had.
Yes,
that
so
he was much more rigid.
He was a bit more authoritarian because of the vast empire that he has as TCS.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yes, good, Professor Tisha. Yes, anybody who can comment on the person in between, that was Shekhar Gupta. Yes. Anyone? Yes, Professor Fani Kumari.
Yes, ma'am. I think as he acts as a media person, I think a modulator, and his position is he also cross-legged, and I think it is not correct in front of the great people like Ratan Tata sir and Narayan Murthy sir. Then eye contact, madam. I have observed eye contact. Ratan Tata ji, he observed the other people with the utmost interest, and that indicates he is paying attention to other people. But Narayan Murthy sir, he is observing the audience that his eye contact is not correct at that situation. I think when other people they come, they have to show. Then ek we will Narayan Murthy sir, he played. I think though it might give a laugh to the audience. I think some fake story. I think fake expression is there. I'm afraid I may be correct or not.
Yes,
Then,
okay. That may be some of our personal perceptions also. We feel. And we try and analyze according to our understanding of non-verbals, isn't it? And that is why it's important to have at least some basic knowledge of non-verbal. Very good. Yes, at least well tried. Yes, Professor Uma.
Yeah. Good morning, ma'am. Yeah.
Good morning.
I felt like Murthy sir could not maintain eye-to-eye contact, which showed that a bit of confidence in him was less than Tatan sir. And at the same time, the sitting gesture, and when he went up to the stage also, he took his own way and maintained a distance from Ratan Tata sir and went and sat on the door instead of greeting him. Because that type of gesture, simplicity was missing in him. It was what I felt.
Yes. So let me also just summarize. It's a good and entertaining video. If you see towards the end how Narayan Murthy also talks about the land reforms and especially building airport at Bangalore, and how he had this patch with Devagowda, and even they are talking, even the journalist is naming some of the political leaders, but they are avoiding talking about politics in public. So how they know to talk, and a good comparison you can make for the two leaders. So initially, I feel when he entered the stage, the first thing that Narayan Murthy did was unbuttoning the coat, as I think many of you might not have noticed it. But since I watch non-verbals very closely, so he just opened his coat, and that is one sign which he at least tried to show that he's open. And I think in my slides, I had just shown you that how unbuttoned coat is a sign of openness. Okay. Then a bit of humor was there in both the conversation is going on with two, how Shekhar Gupta, the journalist, was asking Murthy, how did you know or when did you meet first a person called Tata, and how he knows everything in a very limited time, 1 minute time, he introduces Tata, and he introduces humor also, so that the people are engaging, that if my wife get relaxed, even I feel relaxed. Okay. And similarly, even Tata, how he is playing with his wit and humor when he says that I do not have the same space as Murthy has. So it equally exchange of wit, humor, knowledge, a good video, a longer video, all of you can see it's very long, it's 40 minutes video, and you can see and analyze. So with this, I'll leave you because I have many videos, basic emotions video, Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, you can see it on YouTube, it's available for body language, and you can surely improve your body language. If there are any questions, I can take for a minute, and I'm open to questions. If any of you want to ask me anything regarding non-verbal communication, yes, you are welcome. Anyone? Yes, I think I have given enough brief, I should say, through contradictory words, but I think I've spoken about non-verbals, and next time I think all of you will take care, especially in your professional lives. Certainly you will take care of your non-verbals. So with this, I leave the stage to Professor Fareen, and thank you, Professor Fareen, for inviting me. And I'm equally thankful for all the participants. I can see 121 participants with me. Big thank you to all of you for being there with me this morning. And I hope that you will have a great learning ahead in these sessions, and especially in this workshop. Thank you, participants. Thank you, Professor Fareen.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. With your permission, I need to share a few words on non-verbal communication.
Yes, yes.
I have been observing so many chats, so many speeches, interactions over there. My observation is as such. Please see to that non-verbal communication varies from person to person, culture to culture. Okay, it is not bounded with anything. That is why the research in non-verbal communication is always exploring, and it cannot be completed. Okay, it can never be completed, because what I feel you may not feel, what I understand, what I perceive you may not. Okay, so for in the last session, in the last video, mostly people have their own impact on their culture. That is why most of you told that it is all because of cross-legs. You don't understand that why he has to do that sort of postures or gestures, right? And second point, most of you told about eye contact. Please understand, eye contact is too much treacherous. Okay, sometimes it is an open-minded statement that people say that if you're all having a direct communication, if you're having a sort of stable communication, okay, reliant understanding to communicate, you will be facing the people. But there are occasions, okay, the modern non-verbal communication research on eye contact reveals that even if you are not sharing your eye contact, it doesn't mean that you are not reliant. It doesn't mean that you are not stable. Okay, it is a sort of escapism that you don't want to be an alert, sometimes notingly, sometimes not notingly. Got it? So then never think on that when people have an eye contact, they are having a sort of bravery. They are too much confident. Even there are people who never look onto your eyes, but they are too much confident, overconfident or less confident, anything maybe, but they have their own strengths and weakness. Okay, so don't think for a single perception, please have a multiple perception on non-verbals, right? Yes. Thank you so much. Ma'am, I have to extend my sincere thanks to you. It's a really great thing for you to accept me, accept my invitation. I know very well that you are in the mood of moving because you have another appointment. Yeah, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.